Hi. So many of you will be aware that we took our first holiday in about 4 or 5 years just there. We went to visit some friends in Venice, and I thought I would take an opportunity to show a couple of the things that I had obtained that were book related, because I'm something of a book collector here. So they're not necessarily related to Scotland, but they are quite historical in nature, so I feel like that fits. So initially, we went to Venice itself, the city, and our host Alice took us around the place in a way I don't know that we'd have been able to manage on our own. We saw some excellent sites, which I will upload. I'm still going through all of our pictures and videos at the moment. There's a lot. So we checked out masks, of course, being in Venice. There are some beautiful masks, and had I thought I would have been able to get any of them home in one piece in a suitcase, I would have been very tempted to obtain one, but they were papier-mâché and they all seemed fairly delicate, so I decided against that. Books, however, books can be brought back in a suitcase and be very little hurt by the experience. So initially we went and we saw a gentleman called Paolo Olbi, and he is an artisan of bookmaking in Venice. He's one of only 3 remaining that hand-bind books according to the old style. So went in, we had quite a lengthy chat with him, which was translated by our wonderful host, and I ended up buying one. Now, technically it's a photo album, but it has a very specific purpose in mind. So I bought it for Alex, and it was the only one of its type in the shop. Now you'll see it still has plastic wrap on because I want to keep it really good, and these sparkles, they have a tendency to end up everywhere, as glitter is known to do. So this was the only one of its type that I saw in the store. I didn't see any others with this almost kind of wallpaper like pattern, very intricate pattern here. It's very sparkly, but also I like that it was such a good colour of green, because Alex, being a redhead, is very aware that green is his colour. So this has still got the plastic sheet on it to protect it, because I didn't want it to be hurt. I've kind of made it more of a fixture with some acid-free tape, which isn't super sticky, so it just comes off without again hurting the book. Now, let me look at this. Okay. I don't want to touch this glitter too much because it makes your hands sparkly and it gets everywhere. Now, this has been handmade by our man in Venice. It has his library sticker. I'll be there. And he advised nothing on the left-hand side, left-hand page. Pictures were only to go in the right-hand pages, with this kind of interweaving archival tissue separating each page to protect the pictures. and Alex is going to use it for some of his best portraits that he's completed, and we'll build this book, this piece of artwork, effectively with artwork to make it a thing, you know. So it's like a kind of green suede. I don't know, it's lovely. It just feels lovely. It's so soft. I just don't want to touch it too much because I want to keep it good for as long as possible. Paolo was good enough to take us out into the sunshine, into a courtyard, in order to show us the books he'd made with marble from some noted buildings around Venice. He asked for whatever slivers of marble would remain from a reconstruction project nearby, and he used those very fine slivers of marble to create a couple of book covers, one of which I was able to video. I didn't want to impose too much by taking lots of videos and photos inside his shop, although I really wanted to, but you can find ideas online of what it is he does, where it is he's based, etc. I'll leave a link to a couple of articles down below. One from Atlas Obscura is actually a very nice rundown. So this article from Atlas Obscura tells us the first thing one notices upon approaching Paolo Olbi's bookstore from Ca' Foscari Bridge in Venice is the intricate patterns and vibrant colours. His carefully displayed selection of handmade books, notebooks and stationery look like an old postcard. Olbi himself, an impeccably dressed and groomed 78-year-old native Venetian, is as much a caretaker as an artisan. It says, Olbi's first encounter with this ancient book-binding tradition happened when he was 12 years old. My older brother gave me a second-hand adventure book by Emilio Salgari as a gift, he says, referencing one of Italy's most translated authors. I immediately started to fix its broken cover. Olbi's love for covers is evident in his shop. A portrait of Manutius hangs over the shelves. That man, Olbi says, pointing to the portrait, loved books and thought that they had to be beautiful, and I think so too. It goes on to state that some of Olbi's favourite creations employ unique materials. In a drawer by the till, he keeps 2 pocket-sized books. One, a handmade copy of Dante's Divine Comedy, is made with Murano glass, and the other, Homer's Odyssey, is made with 220 small marble pebbles from St. Mark's Cathedral. It took me weeks to make the Murano glass cover, he explains. This type of glass is thin like a cracker, so I had to be very careful not to break it. I don't think I would have trusted myself handling either of the books. The second book that I obtained is something called a Girdle book. Girdle books were made with the covers extended to one side, and it could be leather, cloth, velvet, suede, and it would have a kind of hard ball, a hard knobble at the top, and it would slip underneath your girdle to hold it in place as you walked about, so you could carry your book with you. It tended to be Bibles back in the day. But we went to a medieval festival, myself and my hosts, and I got to fire a long bow, and it was actually excellent. I really enjoyed it. But the stalls making kind of medieval era items and making them from scratch and showing you the whole process, they were really interesting. And this particular stall had these Girdle books, Now, this could slip under belt, or you could put your belt through the loop here, which is fastened. And we have some Latin beginning this ebook. I'll have to decipher it to find out where the text is from. Looks like it's scanned and printed from an original. So it's got some Latin to begin us, and then it's just a notebook where you can put your own thoughts or writings. I'm not entirely sure what or if I will use this for. We have some mention of these types of very early books in Chambers' Book of Days. So I will link to some of the articles down below in the description. And I just really like this one a lot. There weren't any purple ones, sad to say, but I think that this looks quite rustic, quite old, and will certainly come in handy if I need a notebook later on. We have an article from Robert Chambers' Book of Days for the 13th of September, which alludes to this type of book. It says, for the use of the religious, books of prayers were bound in the 15th century in a very peculiar way, which will be best understood by a glance at the second figure in our cut. The leathern covering of the volume was lengthened beyond the margin of the boards and then gathered, a loose flap of skin, into a large knot at the end. When the book was closed and secured by the clasp, this leathern flap was passed under the owner's girdle and the knot brought over it to prevent it slipping. Thus a volume of prayers might be conveniently carried, and such books were very constantly seen at a monk's girdle. So there you go. And I had never come across one in person, either replicated or original. So when I came across this beautifully decorated wee number, I kind of had to obtain it, just for the curiosity of it, because it's not something that you come across very often. I can't imagine too many originals still exist, unfortunately, because books, they are delicate things. So this is my show and tell for today, I guess. We have Paolo Olbi, who is continuing the trade of artisanal book binding after the historical way of doing such a thing, keeping tradition alive here. And we have our Girdle book from Medieval there. So I hope you find it interesting. I will be back probably once I have all of my photos and videos arranged and organised a little better from our trip. So I will see you later.